In 1948, the Soviet Union replaced mainstream biology with a state-mandated ideology. This forced rejection of science triggered a series of man-made famines that caused millions of acres of crops to wither in the field. The architect of this disaster was Trofim Lysenko. He claimed that plants could be re-educated to thrive in freezing conditions, a theory that explicitly rejected the core principles of evolution and genetics. Joseph Stalin found Lysenko's ideas politically useful. Under the dictator's protection, this flawed theory became the only legal way to practice agriculture in the USSR. The cost of this enforced certainty was the destruction of the Soviet scientific community. Experts like Nikolai Vavilov, who insisted on following the evidence of genetics, were arrested, tried, and left to die in labor camps. Any system that prioritizes the illusion of being right over the ability to correct a mistake eventually collapses under the weight of its own errors. Historian Yuval Noah Harari identifies this lack of a self-correcting mechanism as the primary characteristic of a catastrophic system. He separates information into two categories. There is the holy book, which claims to be infallible and unchanging, and there is the self-correcting mechanism, which assumes it is wrong and actively hunts for errors to fix. This mental rigidity is just as dangerous in an individual portfolio as it is in a state bureaucracy. An investor turns their thesis into a holy book the moment they start ignoring new data to protect their own ego. Without a deliberate process to expose personal blind spots, an investor is simply waiting for their own version of a harvest failure. I recently decided to test my own immunity to this kind of dogma. Over 1 year, I have published 32 deep dive analyses on businesses ranging from logistics to cinema. Rather than moving on to the next hot tip, I have performed a public audit of my past work. I returned to those 32 original theses to see exactly where my reasoning had failed. This exercise represents the construction of a functional self-correcting mechanism. It is an intentional effort to find the errors before the market enforces them. Real financial expertise manifests in the forensic willingness to dissect failure. That audit revealed 3 distinct blind spots. The first was the depth gap, identified in my analysis of the logistics firm delivery. I had relied on a broad macro view of the logistics industry while neglecting the specific unit economics. I failed to map out the granular details of how the company actually generates profit on each individual transaction. The second blind spot, the variable gap, appeared in my review of the Aditya Infotech IPO. In this case, my fixation on high valuation blinded me to a more powerful set of variables. High revenue growth collided with an extremely low supply of available shares, creating a massive upward spike that my original model didn't account for. Finally, I identified the adaptation gap in my study of the cinema giant PVR Inox. I treated a massive incumbent business as a static target, failing to realize how aggressively it was pivoting toward an asset-light model to maintain its lead. Categorizing these 3 gaps provides a blueprint for a more scientific, less emotional strategy. This hunt for errors is an ancient necessity. St. Augustine famously argued that while making mistakes is human, persisting in those errors is a choice that leads to destruction. Modern practitioners like Elon Musk take this further, arguing that your primary goal should be to systematically strive to be less wrong over time. This philosophy aligns with the observation by Heraclitus that no one ever steps in the same river twice. By the time you return to the water, the river has changed and so have you. The market is that river. Between the time you buy a stock and the time you sell it, management teams exit, new competitors emerge, and financial data shifts. Success requires you to abandon financial dogma and ruthlessly audit your past decisions. You must hunt for the ways you are currently wrong. Mastery in investing and in life requires a long, well-documented trail of corrected mistakes.